Let's just check our cameras. Okay, close up. And our workspace. Hi, Persis. How you doing this evening? Did everybody do some stitching during the week and get a little top done? I'll just pretend everybody said yes. So I have a new studio set up and computer, so let's hope we don't have any more of that freezing lag time. And if my voice is too loud, let me know, because I can adjust that. You don't necessarily have to adjust it on your end. I mean, you can, but I want to make sure it doesn't get to a point where it's like screeching at you. I think it might be a little high. So let me try that, see if that's a little better. And I'll do the same with this one. I think we'll be okay. Hi, Rhonda. Okay, so we just have, about 2 more minutes? Anybody have any questions or anything from last time? Oh, can you hear me yawning? Oh, my light's shining on that mirror. How's that? Is that better? I'll put that in my lap for a minute. Okay, just a minute to go. Oh, thanks, Persis. Sounds okay. Oh, and I just remembered again. I don't know. I keep forgetting to put Eastern Standard Time in Facebook. I don't know what I'm going to do to make me remember that. I got to do something. Maybe I'll have it tattooed on my hand. Seems like if I stick a note up, then the note falls down. Okay, so it looks like we're ready to start. We'll just do a little, excuse me, a little review. I don't know why I get froggy voiced every time I get on here. So last Thursday night, 7 p.m., which was last Thursday in January. How's that? We used the half hexagons. And we cut some out. So let me get this out of the way. One thing out of the way. And we cut some out, sewed them together. Then we did a little set showing how to make the actual full hexagon. And everybody's supposed to put those in their resource book. So then I went ahead and showed you putting them together. So I did 1, 2, 3, 4 across and 5 down. And then I took part of some of the pieces I had left over, and I just sewed them together to make the back. So I thought, well, I'll just make a little mug rug. And tonight, for dyes, I'm going to use some applique dies, and this one is called Bows and Hearts. And they're fairly small sized, so they'll go through all of the Gemini machines. So let me set this aside for a second, and let me just square this up. Now, if I was going to applique and quilt if I was going to quilt this, and I was going to have a binding around it, I would leave it like this, and I wouldn't trim it until I was done quilting. But I'm not going to quilt. I'm not going to do a binding. I'm going to do a turn it inside out thing. So everybody needs to be the same size. And I know we talked a little bit about how to cut these ends. And in this case, let me stand up here. I'm only going to cut it off where the where all the fabric is. So see, I'm lining up where all the fabric is. I'm not going to go in halfway or halfway minus a quarter of an inch. I'm just going to cut those off. And of course, I'm lining my ruler up. I'm lining my ruler up along here and along here so that I know that it's straight. And then just going across the top. And again, I'm going to look along here and along here of my ruler to make sure I've got everything straight. Okay, so I can get rid of that equipment. So now, isn't that looking nice? I like how, excuse me, every step you do when you're making a quilt or a table runner or whatever the case may be, with every step it gets it's prettier than the step before. So now it's all neat. So I'm going to I want just this because I'm going to put some applique on it. And I could leave this on when I applique. I just happened to notice, you see that little line there, right there? So I didn't realize I had maybe I'll show it next time. I had some leftover batting, so I zigzagged them together. And I know I showed it in a previous video. I don't remember which one it was. So maybe I'll do a little one for that, because you don't just cut it and zigzag down, because you want them to butt together, not be on top of one another, so you can't feel anything here. And of course, if I had something white going over it, I wouldn't have it even, because it might shadow through it, or it might not. So I wouldn't take the chance. So it's nice when you have little projects to use up these little pieces. Oh, hi, Lynn. Okay, so I'm going to set that up here for a minute. And let me get my pressing mat. Oh. Look at me this time. Oh, did you see that? Well, I'll never find that again. So your applique pressing sheet, you don't want to fold it, because if you keep folding it, eventually it'll crack and it'll split apart. So I just have, I don't think this is paper towels, because it's thicker. So it's probably from my stabilizer. And I just keep it rolled on that. Because it will, if you keep creasing it and folding it, it will eventually give out on you. So let me get so this one I've done already. So I was going to show you how I do my pressing. I always use Steam-A-Seam 2, no, Steam-A-Seam Light 2 is what I use. You use what you want. It's a fusible. I don't use heat and bond. You may like it. Me, not so much. So I'm just going to cut off that little edge. So rather than cutting my fabric and figuring out what it needs to be, I'm going to take my fabric, wrong side, and I've cut my Steam-A-Seam to about the size I need. And I'll take off the first paper. And I'm not at the very edges. And I don't want to get glue on my mat. So I'm gonna lay my applique pressing sheet down, and then I'm just gonna put this over. Now, I don't want to get this fold so close. I don't want to iron a fold, and that would be even worse than if I just folded it. So I just want to make sure that both areas are protected. You see that okay? And you'd use your big iron. I just have the baby. And I just did this in a class. What did I do it in? Last Saturday? When you count to 20? 5, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. I think it was Saturday. I don't even remember what we made now. Oh, the snowman. The snowman's head. Mat, pot holder, whatever you want it to be. And we had a little discussion last Saturday, if you want to watch that video, about your iron and all that stuff. So we don't want to be doing this. We want to be pressing. And with your big iron, you have that more weight and, of course, more area. And this one doesn't have much, but just see where the 3 little holes are. Wherever you have those holes and indents, it's not applying that weight and that flatness to the fabric or to the Steam-A-Seam. So you got to be aware of that area. You need to go over that part. And I always make sure I go out to my edges, because I seem to, so I'm sure maybe some of you probably do. I seem to not get the edges as well as I should. And then I'll just turn it over and just give it a little more for good measure. Okay, so I'm going to set this outside because I don't want to roll it up. That iron might be little, but boy, I'll tell you, it's hot. I don't want to roll it up while it's hot because then the moisture would stay inside. So now I've got this piece, and I've got a little extra fabric all the way around. And I'm just going to, and I could use my little rotary cutter. And I'm cutting, so I just take a sliver of the Steam-A-Seam. So I want to make sure, get that out of my way. I want to make sure that when I'm done, my Steam-A-Seam equals my fabric. This is especially true if you've got a Brother Scan and Cut and you're going to use it, which we'll do some of that too on a different day. So I'm just trimming this one up, and this time I'm just using the scissors. And it, like I said, doesn't have to be straight because we're putting dies on it. I just want to make sure that I don't have fabric with no steam-a-seam or steam-a-seam with no fabric. Okay. So I thought tonight, because I know some people have the small Gemini Go. So I'm stretching the cord as far as I can go. Let's see if I do it. Well, I'll do it that way. How's that? Does that work? Okay. So let's see. Let me get my plates, my little bitty plates out. Oh, wrong zipper. I need a clear plate. I've tried it without the metal plate, didn't work. Plastic shim and a clear plate. And I'm going to move this just for a minute. Oh, I guess I can put it right there. That works. You can see that okay, right? Okay. Okay. So I've got my fabrics, and I really don't want them to be any bigger than the plate. So let me just trim them out just a tad. There's extra room there. I just don't want them to get caught, especially when I'm live with you guys and I get in a big mess. Okay, so I'm going to put down my clear plate, and this is my ugly clear plate. Oh, here, let me put it there. And then my piece of metal, which this one is small enough I can practically flatten it myself. And I'm going to put both fabrics down. So when you're cutting with your Gemini and you've got steam-a-seam, that counts as a layer. So I'm going to put both of those down. And let's see. I'll take the big heart. And because this is applique, we don't have to concern ourselves at all about straight of grain. Isn't that nice? And I'll stick that one right there. Let me get my tape. Well, I got it nearby this time. Except I should have sat here and found the end. That's just me looking for the end of the... Oh, I never can rip these tapes like everybody else seems to be able to do. So because I'm going to have these near one another, I don't want them too near that one die crosses over another die. I know I had the edge hanging out, and then I just touched it. And then I think I got a little tiny one here. Did it flip in again? There we go. Alrighty. So then I'm going to put on a plastic plate, plastic shim, and another clear plate. And let's see if I can get that over in the, excuse me, in the screen. I'm coming from behind here, so. Yeah. Block your ears. Okay. Just so you can see that you can have the little Gemini Go, and it really doesn't do anything near to the plastic that my Gemini Junior does. Holy smokes. Okay, so there's the hearts. The paper's still on them. Oh, I guess I can leave that right on there. So let me just put these dies aside. Oh, my machine tried to say goodnight. So let's see, the biggest heart is just a little over 2 inches. And the next size, the next size, so the biggest one is, let me get over here. There we go. 2 inches. And the next size is a little over 1 inch. Now see, can you see? I got a little piece of heart that there was no fabric there. And I'll show you the fabric, you'll see what I mean. So see where I had the heart? That wasn't a good placement, was it? Oh, almost lost the hearts. Okay, let me get these plates out of the way. And let me get the scissors out of the way. And I think that I will go ahead and do the applique with the batting on it. So we want to make sure we take off our paper. Does anybody have any questions? Excuse me. Does anybody have any applique dies for their Gemini? Oh, now the pink one came out fine. It was just the red one that. So I think I will put this one like there. Yeah, I'll face it towards you. How's that? And because, now see, I've got that little square end. So I'm going to put this one here. And I'm going to put a little baby one that covers right over that spot. Let me move this guy over a little bit. Now you want to remember that you're going to have at least a 1/4 inch seam all the way around, so don't get too close to your edge. So see, I put that little pink heart right over that little edge that I didn't do such a great job on. And I've got a couple more of these cut. Let me see. No, I don't want to do that. Let's do this. We probably don't need that many hearts on there. That's probably it's a lot of hearts, isn't it? Maybe we should have less hearts. All right. I always save some of the paper from off the back of the steam machine to put pieces on that I may not use. So let's go down to, let's do this. Let's put this one here. Oh, facing you. And this one can be like that. So how's that? Now I'm just going to stitch a couple of them so you can see, and then I'll show you how I put it all together. So I'm saving these. These will go in my little applique baggie, which is really a big baggie now. And if I had any fabric left over that had the steam seam on it, I would keep that with it, because you know, look at the tiny pieces that you might need a little piece of red or a piece of green or whatever the case may be. Okay, so there we are. And you saw how easy it was to cut that out. One pass, and I did have a couple of them done already, but I could have done 3 layers, so I'd have had 3 of everything. So I would have had enough in one pass to do all that's on here and a little more. Okay, does anybody have any questions? And I did cut out the bow, but I don't know. I think we need a bow on it. Are we voting? Okay, so Cindy was asking, so everybody can vote on bow or no bow. You decide. So Cindy was asking about if I can applique without the back fabric. Well, because I'm going to turn it, so yes, the answer is yes. As long as your batting is on the bottom where your feed dogs are, then you're fine. Okay? This should make it just maybe a little more puffy. It might be a little easier to maneuver around than just the fabric. And because so let me back up. So whether I want to have the backing fabric on is determined by 2 things. One, am I going to put binding around? In that case, yes, I can put the back on. And 2, do I want it to show through? The quilting would show through, which would be kind of pretty with the hearts on it. But then I would have to bind it, which I could bind it, but... So do we have any takers? No bow. Okay, Lynn, I'm going with you. No bow. All right, I got to put my heart back where I had it. Let's see. That's me. I know I didn't put it back where I had it, but here we go. And it's, you know, there we go. It's a bit busy, but hey, it's Valentine's. Okay, so I'm gonna applique this with, well, I'll do it partly not and partly yes. So I'll go ahead and applique a heart or 2, and then I'll put this on, turn it right side out, and then applique some more so you can see the difference. And I hesitated because I don't normally have one piece on the back. I usually have 2, so I can go all the way around and not have to turn it right side and not have to turn it like through a little slot. But I wasn't quick enough for that. So let's go over and do a little bit of applique. Oh, look, I got 3 no. Oh, look, Rhonda put a bow on. I got 3 no bows, so we better stick with that. Okay, so I've got a machine embroidery thread in. I had to move my chair. Oh, I'm sorry. Did I bump the camera? I have machine embroidery thread in. And I'm doing this time, because most people have this stitch, I'm doing the blanket stitch, which on the baby lock, on the bigger machines, should be under the Q tab, Q14. And I think I'm going to make the width 3. Okay. And I got my pivot on, yep. So what I need to remember is, here we go. So here's a good example. So if I look at these 3 hearts, well, let's look at the 2 hearts. It's faster. I'm looking at these 2 hearts. I have to applique the one that's underneath first, because I want to start here. I'm going to go all the way around and come down here and up and stop. Then with this one, I'm going to go all the way around. So if there's any little issue here that I went too far or didn't go far enough, it should take care of it as I go by. Okay, I'm going to use pink thread on the whole thing. So the first thing I'm going to do is this heart. So I have to start. Oh, no, that's not the first thing I'm going to do. We didn't iron our fabric down, did we? I'm saying we now, bringing you into it. I didn't iron the fabric down. I didn't iron the applique pieces down. Okay. So, hold on a second. I got to get my applique person sheet back. So, I'm going to, now, it's not as important or imperative that I put the applique pressing sheet on, because there should be nothing that comes up on this, onto the iron. I'm already covered. My ironing mat is covered because I've got this big piece behind here, and there shouldn't be any issue with it coming up. But if you want to be on the safe side, just put your applique pressing sheet on. I'm going to leave mine off because I got my little iron in it. Takes a little more effort, and I'm going to try to go right over that whole section, and we're going to count to 20. Somebody can count, let me know. 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Is it annoying when I count? 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. Otherwise, it'd be awful quiet. And then I'm going to come over and turn so I'm totally on top of this one. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. And the reason you really want to make sure that you iron it down well is the glue will stick to your needle, and then the thread sticks to the glue. And then you have skip stitches. So if you have a lot of skip stitches and you've got a fairly new needle on there, top stitch, I'm using a top stitch 80, 12. But if you get a lot of glue buildup on your needle, you didn't iron this enough. In other words, you need to melt that glue more. So I know with the steamer seam, if I hold it down longer than I should, or longer than it recommends, the glue's not going to go away. It's not going to dissipate. But if I had put these hearts down and I forgot to take the paper off and I ironed it, the glue will go into that paper and you have to start over. And you notice, I have this a lot in my classes where the students will leave the paper on and set everything down for placement. Well, the problem with that is first of all, you got to pick it all back up again to take the paper off. And secondly, more importantly, you're going to forget the paper's on there and you're going to iron it and the glue's going to be gone. That's the only time the glue disappears on the steamer seam, is if you leave that the second paper on and iron it. Okay, so let's try this again. And let me see. I'm going to switch the screen back for 1 minute because I'm going to see if I can lift this camera up a little bit more, and I don't want to do it and make you dizzy. I think that's as high up as I can get it. Okay, so I'm back to these. So you can see the heart's pretty good. I take my glasses off because it's too close for me. And I couldn't tell if I was threaded or not. So I'm going to start stitching here. I'm going to go all the way around and up and stop. So I need to lock it at the beginning and I need to lock it at the end. So the first thing I want to do, and I'm going to have to stand up for this one, is I want to reach around, if I can reach it. So I want to get in position, and I'm using my wheel over on the right-hand side of my machine and putting that needle in right where it needs to go. And I'm going to lock it. Okay. And then my needle is going to run right at the edge of the heart. It's off the heart, but the edge of the needle is right against the edge of the heart. So, hold on. There we go. And I'm going to make sure I stop and turn when the needle is on the straight, not when it's on the bite. The bite is when it comes in onto the applique fabric. Okay, so my foot I'm using is my candle wicking foot. Oh. My candle wicking foot, which means it's open all the way to the needle so I can see. They also make an open toe applique foot. Make sure it says applique foot, because the regular open toe foot is a spring foot for free motion. My needle is a top stitch 80-12, and I'm using embroidery thread, machine embroidery thread. And I wish I could hold that up like that. Wait a minute. Let's see if I can do this. I'm going to stand on either side of the tripod. Oops, sorry. And hold on one second. So I have to move the focus. So how's that? All right. Let's see how this works. So see, I took a bite in. I don't want to turn there. I want to come back out and then turn. And you have to pay attention to the stitch. So the stitch goes forward, back, forward, bite. Comes out. Forward, back, forward, bite. So when I move my fabric, I don't want to be in the middle of like forward, and then I move it and go back. It'll be in a different place. So you kind of have to keep saying to yourself, forward, back, forward. And I do have regular sewing thread in my bobbin, and it's white. Because it's lighter weight, the sewing thread is a lighter weight than the embroidery thread. Sewing thread is 50 weight, and embroidery thread is 40 weight, and it's opposite of what needles are. So the smaller the number, the thicker the thread. Okay, so now I'm going to come into this corner. And I'm right in the corner, luckily, on the bite. So I'm only going to turn halfway because I want the bite to bite into this is the V of the heart. It's going to bite in at that V. That's ideal. It doesn't always work, but it did today, so. And normally I wouldn't go quite this slow, but this, let's turn down our speed a little bit. Speedy Gonzales there. Now see, I let it go forward a stitch, and I shouldn't have, so I'm kind of out further than I need to be. And the needle hasn't come up yet to start the next stitch. It's still on the downward. So if I go to my wheel, and this is the only time I'm allowing you to do this, is I'm going to turn my wheel backwards. And I'm going to move my fabric so that now that needle comes down in the right place. Hopefully that's not getting too blurry. Oh, probably help if I paid attention. Oh, couldn't figure out why it wouldn't go any faster. I turned it down too slow. Okay, I'm coming to the corner. See, I'm coming to that point right there. So I'm going to see. My stitch was just short enough that I'm right at the, now I'm at the point of the V. So I'm only turning halfway so I can get one bite on that point. And I'll show you when it's done. Okay, so there we are. So see how I wanted to get that bite into the V of the heart, and in the bottom of my heart would look better if I wasn't not paying attention because I didn't turn my fabric when I should have, but I'm okay with that. Okay, so let's go back to the work table. So there's our, trying to keep the light on it. There's our heart. And you see we started right here and we went all the way around and then up a little bit to the little heart. Now, if we had touched into the little heart, it would be okay because I'm going to go around the whole thing of the little heart and that would cover any little oddities I might have made where I stopped and started. So does anybody have any questions on that part? Oh, geez, I'm banging into my tables here. Tripod's hogging up all the room. Okay, so now I'm going to switch to my regular yarn. I was knitting today. I'm going to switch to my sewing thread. I'm going to put my J-foot back on because I'm going to put this back on. And then I'll come over and do this big heart with the back on it so you can see how that looks. So I just want to line these up. And when I determine, I have to leave an opening somewhere. So I've determined, I don't know why, but I think people always look at the top and the bottom. That's the first place they look. And they tend to look more to the right than to the left. So I'm going to have my opening over here. Not the best way to have an opening because I've got all those seams, but we'll work with what we've got. So normally I would have two pieces and I would have one. Well, you know what? I can probably do that. So if I have this one folded back, hold on one second. I think we can fix that. Let's see if I can fix that. Because trying to, I've got 4 seams here. So to try to fold this back, you know how when you turn it right side out, and then you got to fold them in so the raw edge doesn't show. It's just a little harder with that, with all those seams there. So I'm going to try this. So I'm going to fold that down. So, and I want it right side down. Whichever one I put down first is going to be the one that's going to show when I turn it right side out. So let's get this one down. That way we can stitch right around the whole thing. Won't that be nice? Okay, so now I have to now I've got to cover up this end. So I'm going to take, I always say you're gonna see how I do things when you're not with me. So, okay. So I was just going to go right down here, but I know Lynn would probably have a heart attack. So I'll use my ruler. Well, that wasn't the smartest thing I ever did. All right, I'm going to hold that there just for a second. Well, I've got 2 pieces here. All right. Honest to goodness. And now I'm going to go to this side. I was wondering why that piece was on the top. I had a moment. Do you ever have those moments? Okay, so now I know it's the right width. Oh, that was just me bumping into that little doll. And so I'm going to have, let me get my pressing mat. And I'm going to put this, I want to fold this back because I want a nice finished edge on the outside. We're right sides together. So let me give that a little press just to get that down. Then here's my other piece. Now, this piece doesn't have to have a finished edge to it because it's going to be inside where you don't see it. But I know that would drive Lynn crazy. So I'm going to just do a little seam. And you could stitch this down if you wanted to. So if I wanted to quickly stitch this down, oh, what? I know I say that every week, don't I? So because I did such a little hem on it, I'm going to go ahead and stitch that. Oh, and I started to, let me just change my thread. And I'm going to stitch with it upside down because I didn't remember. I didn't remember what size my hem was. Oh, you can see it right from there. Oh, so I'm still on the applique stitch. That's not good, is it? So before I move my stitch, I want to make sure my needle's up, because my needle could move. Okay, and I just want to make sure that I have enough of the long one past the short one, and it's fine. All right, any more in there? Okay, so let's go just stitch. We're going to stitch all the way around. Okay, so I can back this up. I don't think we need to be that close. And I'm going to change my foot. Don't use your button to put your foot off and on. Put your foot all the way down and lift up with your lever or lever, whichever way you want to say it. Okay. So I'm not going to lock it because I'm going to come around and come right over. I'm going to go right over this stitch. And when I turn, if I'm not over far enough, I just need to take one more stitch. If you have a machine, Baby Lock Brother machine that has the dual pedal, 2 pedals, you can set one of the pedals up to do a single stitch. So when you press the front of the pedal, it'll do just one stitch. Because you know how it is when you want to do one stitch and then it does, 3. Except I can't get. I keep hitting the front of the pedal with the one stitch. And I just want to be careful. See how that's lifting up? So my foot came up, my needle's down, so I just tuck that back underneath. And I probably should have taken a little bit bigger seam. But that's okay. And I'm coming back over my original stitching. I want to make sure I'm right over it. If not, be on this side of it so it doesn't show. And I'm just going to lock it and then cut. Okay, so let's switch over. Okay, so now, hey everyone. Oh, There I am. Hi. I'm going to just clip those corners. So see, I'm just taking the, so it looks like this with that point. Now I'm going to, yeah, let's see if I can hold it up this way. Now I'm going to cut the corner off. I don't want to try that again. That was a lucky cut. And a big mess. And did I shut my iron off? No. So remember, if we stitch, we press. Or in this case, you can iron. This is one of those times you can iron all you want right here. Okay? And then now, see, I've got my little pocket. I've got my little pocket to turn it right side out. So I want to make sure that I turn the little one right side out first and not do the big one yet. Because, and we had this on, I remember this, we had this on Saturday too. This is the only time we'll be able to get up into these corners. And the corner's not going to be a sharp, well, it's not too bad, but it's not going to be always be a sharp, squared off corner, only because you got that batting and stuff in there. And sometimes I find if you poke at it too much, then you just go right through, right through your stitches. And now I'll turn the other side over. And see, and normally obviously I wouldn't have, stripes on one part and vertical the other, but it looks all right. But see, if I wanted to get up into these corners, I'd have to push this back, which then pulls down these corners. So just make a note in your little note of notes that turn your short side first. Now, if you had your short side on first so that it overlapped this way, then you could do your short side second. And if that bothers you, that opening, you can just put some steamer seam there and press it so it's closed. Just make sure that you've done all your ironing and everything that you need to do before you do that, because the steamer seam is permanent. And you notice I went right down the sides, because that helps push the sides out. And this is especially good with the big iron, because you really want to push those seams down, because there's batting, double batting there, the batting's folded over and all that. Hot, hot, hot. Okay. So how's that? Now I'm going to go ahead and stitch this heart, and then you'll see actually so let's see. That heart is coming around this area. So I am going to, let me show you how to put some steamer seam down there. Let's see what I've got. Because I don't want my feed dogs to push this back if I'm going to be appliquing in there. Now, you can buy steamer seam on a roll 1/4 inch wide. That works too. I really should have done this when it was inside out, but we'll do it the hard way. So this is sticky, I'm going to stick it to the top part. Can you see? So I'll just, and I want to stay just below the fold. And let me get it on and then you can see. So you see, it's just below the fold. Doesn't have to be perfectly straight. And it can overlap with another piece, except so if it might overlap, I'm going to go ahead and take this paper off because I don't want to have this one sticking to that paper. Okay, it's only with people watching you that this takes so long. Here we go. And I'm going to do the same thing over here, except I'm going to start over. So look. So see, I just stuck it on there. Be careful when you set it down. Now I got to be careful and stay away from that piece I already took the paper off of, because it'll stick down. Okay. And we're still going to count to 20. And see? So now that's not going to come up. I touch it more, but it's still hot. So see? So now when I stitch around, I don't have to worry about that so much, hopefully. So let's go ahead over and let me see. Does anybody have any questions on that at all? I could stick another heart back here too if I wanted to. Oh, look, we could put the bow. Look at that. There. Then it won't look like we did something by mistake. But then we wouldn't be able to stitch it because then the bow would show in the front. All the things that can happen when I have that bow up there. Okay, so let's go ahead and switch over. We get a drink of my tea first. Anybody have any questions on that steam machine? Isn't it funny that the Gemini cutting part takes about 2 seconds to demo that? Then we're all done. That's kind of nice. Okay, so let's switch over. All right. So now I'm going to do this heart. And remember, I have white thread in the back. So it's going to be up to you what thread you want on the back side. So this time, oh, I'm going to change my foot again. Oh. So candle wicking foot. Get a little more light on the subject there. See how it's open all the way in. And like I said, they have a plastic one. If there's a plastic one and it has the metal here, or it has like it's kind of gritty, like it grippy. It's kind of grippy. Then that's okay. But I prefer the metal one myself. Okay, where am I? So I have to start. The thread's trying to come around with me. So I'm going to start there, but I got to change my stitch to my Q14, and I did a 3 width. Okay. Whenever you're appliquing something, write down what you're doing, because you may step away like I just did and then go, oh, what was I doing? I can't remember. Oh. So I went to the right-hand side of my machine where the wheel is, and I turned the wheel down so I could see where the needle's going to hit. Some of you have a needle beam, so your needle beam comes down and shows you where the needle's going to be. Or is that might only be on the embroidery side, I can't remember. But I want to do a locking stitch. Okay? I'm going to get all that stuff out of my way. And remember, it's forward, back, oh, shoot. Forgot to change my thread. Well, that's all right. We'll go around with a white thread, and then you can see the difference in the weight. I'm at that corner of the point of the heart, so I'm only turning halfway so I can get that bite. And I can see that my thread is catching, so let me put my thread up. And let me just make sure I don't have some gunk on my needle, because you're going to get some no matter what. So every time you stop, you should just make sure you get the gunk off. Okay, so I'm having difficulties with this sewing thread. So I'm going to, oh, well, it'd help if it was in the needle, wouldn't it? All right, let's switch our thread. And let's see if it did. All right, so you can see, here it is. See how you, hold on. Let's see if we can get it to focus in here. Hold on. It's trying to be funny with the focus. All right, you might not be able to see, but you see how it looks like little V's right there? So that was the thread, because it's so light, catching on the, if there was just a little bit of glue there. So when I finish one heart, I should go ahead and double check my needle. Now you can take a Q-tip with some rubbing alcohol and clean it. Just make sure you wait for it to dry. I don't feel anything there, but I just gotta, let me pull these stitches out. You can watch me pull stitches out. That's pretty exciting. Just stab myself with my, because it's got those double stitches. There's more to pick out. It's not like a single row of stitches that you can just pick some out and then pull the pieces out. There we go. It's like watching paint dry, isn't it? I got a couple of stragglers here. And normally I just take my time and get it done nicely. Okay, let's try this again. And you hear me beeping. So you hold on a second. I'm going to move the camera. So close your eyes a second. For those of you that didn't see last time, this, let me see if I can, this icon right here, the one with the, oh, for crying out loud, the one with the needle, star needle, oh, that, if you have that on your machine somewhere, that takes you back to the beginning of the stitch. Because I hit something else. Because I didn't know if I was on the bite or on the straight. And I didn't want to start out in the wrong place. So I'm going to reach over and lower my needle down using my wheel. Lock in place. Okay, and let's see. Oh, I didn't stop quick enough for the bite, but that's all right. And you're going to take your time. Don't go too slow. Oh, let me fix that. Sorry. Don't go, sorry, that was blurry. Don't go too fast and don't go too slow. See this right here? So I should have made sure that that wasn't showing when I did my ironing. Now, it doesn't show as much as in the camera because you're looking at it from this angle. But be aware of that because once I do this stitching, I can't fix that. And probably nobody's going to care but you. Now, I don't know how to explain this. So I'm near the V of the heart and I'm not quite there. So I want to come in a little more into the V. So I'm going to hold my mat so it doesn't stitch too far. So I didn't let it take the whole, it took the stitch, but because I held the fabric, it only took a little stitch, and that's what I wanted to do. Hopefully that makes sense. We're almost there. Okay, let's switch back. And let me just trim this. Oh, hold on, I dropped my seam ripper on the floor. Okay, so there's that heart. And I didn't have any issue with the thread once I changed to that thicker thread. So it could be because the sewing thread is so very thin that it was just having an issue. I don't see any gunk on the needle, but see, here's the back. Now, the heart doesn't end, but that's okay because another heart will come in. So see how this heart is here. So it'll come over that spot. So it won't look like a spot you didn't do. And you can trim your threads down because they're locked. Let's see if I can get a... There, so that's how it would look on the back. So you would have all these hearts all over the back. Okay? And see how I went? Let me see if I can show it. Hold on. We're looking at where the heart comes into the center. There we go. So I wanted that bite to go in the center, and I wanted the bite to come on that point as close as I could. Does it always work out that way? No, of course not. We wouldn't be that lucky is what I mean. So there we have it. That stayed nice and closed as I came around the back. The feed dogs didn't bother that because it's permanently down now. You can see the heart better there. So it's up to you to decide how you want to quilt something or how you want to applique something. And you don't have to do it the same way every single time. Just because you did it, excuse me, got my face in your ass trying to pull my chair up. Just because you did it one way one time doesn't mean you have to do it that way every single time. Sometimes I don't have any really rhyme or reason sometimes why I do that. It's whatever you feel like at the moment. That shows it pretty good there. Oh, this way. So you see the difference, when you first put the hearts on, they look real pretty, but now with the other stitching, and this is the blanket stitch at a width of 3.0 and a length of 2.5. Let me double check. Yeah, 2.5. So once they're all stitched, this is pretty with the pink on it, so maybe this should have the red on it. I haven't decided. Now, when I get down to this little guy, am I going to do this stitching? Maybe, maybe not. Depends. Depends how I feel when I get there. You have to kind of stitch it, and then because if I did a straight stitch there, well, it may look funny, but I could do a zigzag there, a little zigzag. But I would try to stay with the blanket stitch. You can shorten the length, so it does a shorter stitch, because if it's a smaller area, you got a smaller area to get around. You want smaller, shorter stitches, and to make it easier for you. Oh, thanks, Rhonda. Thanks, Lynn. Okay, does anybody have any questions? Okay, so this week we did applique dies. There's a ton of them. And you can always tell this is multimedia, so it's got that coppery, I think it's kind of a coppery kind of look, and it'll tell you, tells you right here, it's multimedia. So that means through fabric and such. And I think you could probably use a regular die, but maybe one layer of fabric. We'll try it sometime and see. But I thought it'd be nice for some people that have the go the Gemini Go, because that has a 3-inch opening, and this bow fits through there. So what is that? Yeah, it's about 3 inches, a little more than 3. This bow fits through the Go. All these fit through the Go. So for those of you that had the little machine, I want you to feel left out. You can do some of the dies from the Build-A-Block too, but you can't do them all. Okay, so let me see if there's any last minute questions. And I give you a sneak peek for those that didn't see Saturday's class. I used a little denim on the inside. So we're doing, this is I call it my busket. That's a basket in a bucket basket. I did a little one first because apparently I thought it was going to come out bigger. And it's reversible, so you can turn it totally inside. You can turn it so it's, you know, there's no seams are going to show. Yeah, how's that? Because now it's all wrinkly, but. So we're going to be doing the big one. I posted on Facebook, Miss Loreens Schoolhouse Facebook channel today, or this afternoon, I think it was. 2 fat quarters. And not stabilized, well, interfacing. Okay, so thanks everybody for joining in. And some of you I'll see next Thursday. We'll do another a different type of die, maybe from the not the Build-A-Block, but the Build-A-Block Plus, I think it's called. So we'll start to add more to the resource book, but I thought this would be a fun little project to break up the monotony of just doing blocks. So again, thanks everybody. Oh, thanks, Cindy. Thanks everybody for joining in. Let's see if some of you make some kind of little Valentine. You could just do straight strips if you wanted to. Nothing special, and some hearts. Just cut out some hearts. So thanks again, everybody, for joining in. And I'll see you either next Thursday or I'll see you Saturday. And Saturday is at 1:30. It ended up I didn't have to work, but I'm kind of afraid to change the time because I told people last Saturday that it would be 1:30. So we'll meet at 1:30 on Saturday, and the info is on Miss Loreens Schoolhouse Facebook channel. And if you like this video today, please hit the like button or the thumbs up. I think it's a thumbs up like button. And if you haven't subscribed, please subscribe so you'll get notice when I go live. And I'll see you guys Saturday at 1:30. Thanks a lot.